yesterday already. Oh, Rav, noitel adam shtei yod of shachris on Koforim bebeit. Noitel adam shtei yod of shachris u masna aleim kol yom kulei. As long as you do it in the morning, you can be masna the whole entire day. Amr hu Avina levnei pakta. So Rabbi Avina told the Bnei Pakta de Arvus. Pakta is a valley of Arvus. They lived in a valley. There was no water near it. It was very rare. You who don't have water consistently. You don't have water there all the time. So wash your hands in the morning. Alayhu, and make this condition that the kula yoma that you want it to last an entire day. That you shouldn't be masiach das from your hands. And then you won't have to wash again.
You won't have to wash for
bread again, right? Some say it was only because it's over there that they didn't have water a lot, so therefore they were allowed to do it only b'shas hatzchak. V'hainu upliga the Rav, and it argues on Rav who seems to say you could do it lechatchila. Yeah. I'm saying if you want to move it. So either it's only b'shas hatzchak and argues on Rav. We just continued. We just continued yesterday's statement of Rav. Rav said that you can be noitel yod of shachris and have it for the entire day. So then the Gemara said that Rabbi Avina told the Bnei Pakta that the Bnei Pakta de Arvus that they could do the same because they didn't have a lot of water. And the question is, the Gemara is contemplating is if you're allowed to do this only b'shas hatzchak if you don't have water, or you should b'shas hatzchak. Because Rav seemed to say it's noitel adam, it's lechatchila 100%. So iked amri b'shas hatzchak in b'shas hatzchak. Well, pligid Rav and they argue on Rav. Iked amri afilu shlo b'shas hatzchak nami. He means that even shlo b'shas hatzchak l'hainu de Rav. Taisus asks an interesting question. The Gemara in Arvi Psachim says you're not allowed to be mafsik the kiddush. Right? If you do until Sidam, we do until Sidam after kiddush. Yeah. Right? But if let's say you want to do until Sidam before kiddush, and instead of having to go like the Yakis do, so the Gemara says you shouldn't do it because kiddush is mafsik. Right? So Taisus asks, what do you mean? You could be masna the whole entire day. What do you mean a mafsik? I could do it in the morning. I could wash for bread in the morning, and then at 6 o'clock in the evening, I'm going to eat, right? So the whole day is not considered a hefsek. Right? So Taisus says, yes, you're right. That Gemara, Taisus sort of uses this Gemara to say that really it's allowed if you're not Masiach Das. Meaning if you're masna, if you have this condition, if you're masna during the morning, so you're right. And the Gemara says you're allowed to do it if you're not masna, but if you're masna, so you're not allowed to do it. And that's what the Yakis do, right? They first wash. So the Yakish is the first wash, and then they do kiddush and right away hamlet. Okay, that's from this Taisus. Okay.
The minhag is from Tosus, or Tosus is mastic.
Taisus doesn't discuss the minhag; Taisus just discusses the halacha. But according to him, it comes out that it's fine. Yeah.
What's the source of the minhag?
I don't know. I think it's a Ramah. Not just a dime. Okay, Amar of Papa. And Papa says, "Hay arisa daloi, ein noit mimenu liyadayim, daloi asum koyach gav." Arisa daloi is like a irrigation pipe that they would use to water their fields, and on one side you throw water in, right? On the other side, the water comes out to the field. So let's say you're on the other side. You're on the exiting side, where the water exits, and you want to wash your hands for until Sedai. He says you can't do that. Why? Because it's daloi asum koyach gavra. By the time it gets to you, it's not at all coming from the power of the person who poured in the water. It's coming all from gravity, and therefore it's not good. You have to have koyach. Until Sedai needs koyach gavra. It needs to be coming from an actual person pouring. But if you're closer now to the bucket, if you're not so far away, you're not all the way at the exit, right? You're closer to where the person threw in the water into the pipe. So then then it is fine. Meaning, if you could establish that the water that's coming to that you're washing your hands with is still moving with the force that the person threw it in, then it's fine. If not, then it's all going on its own right now, so then it's also because it's not koyach gavra. Okay, v'ibezia davla. If the davla is a bucket, if the bucket is punctured, if it has a hole, b'koynis mashke, enough for liquid to be able to go in. If the hole is big enough, the liquid can go in from the outside in, right? So then melaf laifi matel b'seyadayim. Because it's connected, melaf laifi means it's connected. Because it's connected, so it can go. Meaning, what's going on over here is he's taking a bucket that has a hole in it, right? And he's sticking it into to a body of water, a lake or something, and then pouring it into the pipe, right? Now, because there's a hole in the bucket, so there's a constant connection, right? Well, it's sort of ashaka. It's not really nitzuk. I mean, we hold nitzuk is not. It's sort of nitzuk. Ashaka is in between two actual baths. Nitzuk is when you have a connection like this, but we hold nitzuk ein a chibur, and I don't know if it's not really a technical chibur in terms of mikvos. Rashi points out. But because this whole thing is darbanan, so we were matter, and we were matter that because there's somewhat of a connection because the bucket has a hole and the water is flowing, there's water connecting the bucket to the ground to the pool of water, and then you're pouring from the water into the pipes, and means there's like a continuous connection from the pool of water to the arisa to where you're washing your hands, and therefore you're allowed to be neitel from it, because it's as if you're being neitel from an actual body of water, so that's fine. Okay. I'm a kli that has a hole.
An actual body of water, or the kolakavra gets transferred somehow? Even like a mikveh body of water, or?
Yeah, I think like a mikveh body of water. Rashi says yar. There's a yar there. Yeah, nekef mekalech me'acharv le'or me'lafleif yatzinor imay or al yidei dli matbilun metzinor esayadayim delav tvila gemuri v'day b'chibur zeh v'loy b'nikish shvar sandoit. Meaning, he's saying what you're doing is you're being matbul your hands in the tziner. The tziner is not a mikvah, right? But still, we look at it as if it's connected to the original yar, where you're taking the water and putting it into the bucket and then pouring it into the pipe, because it has this little chibur. That's enough.
So that's only calls man that there's water that is pouring the water in. Once he stops pouring the water, you lost that connection.
Right. Probably as long as it's right. The Gemara is saying that it's melaf life. It means it's actually connected. It has to stay connected.
Right.
Okay. Amarava klisha ein vayrevi say noitin men liyadayim. No, I skipped one. Klisha nikav b'koynis mashke and noitin men liyadayim. If a kli has a hole that water can go in, right? Water is right. Koynis mashke means if there's a hole over here and if you stick it into water and it goes in, right? So then it's possible, because for Nitzasidayim the Chacham made a takana is that it's not good. You actually you need a kli over here. It's not a kli because it doesn't hold water. The Amarava klisha ein b'revis ein noitel min liyadayim. If it doesn't have a revis, you can't be noitel min liyadayim. Okay, asks the Gemara, what do you mean if it doesn't have a revis? Ini v'Amarava klisha ein machzik revis ein noitel min liyadayim. You see, all you need is a kli that's machzik or revis. It could be able to hold a revis, not that it has to have a revis. Actually, when I'm being noitel liyadayim, so which one is it? The Gemara says, "Ha machzik afagav delesbe," should be fine. The Gemara says, "No, lekashia, ha lechad, ha letrei." This is for one person, meaning one of them is for one person, one of them is for two people. The Tanya may revis noitlim layodayim leechad afilu lishnayim. If you have actual revis of water, so then you can be noitel for one person, even for two people. Which means what we're saying is that the Kli Avada has to be machzik or revius, right? Now, in Chanam, you do not always need a revius. If you're the first person washing, so then you need a revius. If you're the first person washing from the cup, you need a revius in order to start it off. But then if you're a second person washing, if you're washing from the same cup, it doesn't need to have revius anymore. So the first guy washed, he took out some water, and it's fine. As long as you have what's left over from a revius, that's enough. But if you're washing for the first time from this water, and there's no revius, it doesn't work. That's the chiluk Gemara makes. Okay. I think the Gemara is going to discuss it a little more. Rav Sheshis Lameimar. Rav Sheshis asks him here, Kapdisu Amana, are you makpid that the kli is complete, that it's a kli shalom, Amalei in Achazusa, that the water looks like water, doesn't look like anything else, Amalei in, yes. Ashiura, are you makpid on the shear that needs a reviz, Amalei in. Ikadamri, some people say, Hachi Amalei, Amana v'Achazusa Kapdina, that the kli is shalom and that the water looks like actual water, that I'm makpid, but Ashiura like Kapdina, I'm not makpid on a reviz, so I detanya, may reviz, noitin le'yadayim. So you see that merevis, you can do it for two people, which means the second guy doesn't have a revis, right? So he says, I'm not makar in the revis. V'loi the Gemara says that's not a proof because shani hasam mishum dikasim mishari taira. That's different. That's the only time you're allowed to use less than a revis is if it comes from a person who used it already. So it's leftovers of Tyra, meaning leftovers of what someone used it to be Mitara's hands, then we're matter you to be noitel even if there's no revis in the cup. But the first person who's being toiled from this cup, avad, there has to be a revis in there always. Okay. Asking Rabbi Yaakov Minar Pekoid, not labas reviyasa. Rabbi Yaakov from the river of Pekoid, he was in Misakin. Rashi explains that what do you mean he was misaken? Like he sort of made he made a kli that everyone should measure from. That was the everyone should know that this is the exact amount of the revis. So he made a natla that was a revis. Rashi says it was made out of schuchis. Natla means it was made out of schuchis. Asker Ravashi behutzal kuza bas revis. Kuza just means it was made out of cheres. It means out of pottery. Okay, either way, they had these kalims that everyone would be able to measure how much is the revis. Okay, if you have a cover of a barrel that you fixed it up, that now it's able to hold water. Right? Let's say on its own, the different pshatim they're showing is a pshat. It's not able to hold at all unless you actually burrow a base kibul into the cover, or avad that could hold it. It's just it won't be able to stand on its own. Either way, you had this cover of a barrel, right? And you changed it a little bit in order for it to be able to hold the revis. So he says, it does work. Even though originally it didn't work, right? And the chiddush is that even though originally it wasn't able to be notel yadayim, but still, once you fix it, it's fine. Tani nami hachim begufas chavis shetikna notel notel yadayim. Okay, it's rice like that. Chemes ukfisha shetikna. If you have other type of right, chemes are like sacks of leather that used to hold liquid in. Skins, right? Used to put liquid in it. So if you're masaking it, then also noitel mehem le'yodayim. However, sak v'kupa, if you have like a sack that it's not really meant at all to carry liquid, so then even if you have a very, very thick sack, whatever, that's going to end up holding liquid, still you're not allowed to do it because it's not meant for water. So the kli that you're using for Netilas Yadayim has to be actually meant for water, meant for liquid. Okay. And this sak v'kupa, even if the one you have technically works, since most of them aren't meant for Mikabel Mayim, so then it doesn't work. Ibayalehu ma'olechol b'mapa. Okay, now the Gemara asks Tamakasha. Let's say you don't want to do Netilas Yadayim. Mardolishim Netilas Yadayim, so you might touch. It's exera. Let's say your Yadayim are shniyos, and you might touch truma, and therefore even by Chulin we're makbid. But let's say you cover your hands with a mappa, with a handkerchief. Are we chayshish that maybe still you shouldn't eat without Netilas Yadayim, even if your hand is covered with a mappa, because you might touch it. Tashima. What brings a brayso? When they gave food to Rav Tzaddik, this is from Masechta Sukkah. He used to oichel pachas mikabeitza. They would give him food less than a kabeitza. Noitle b'mapa, he would take it in a mappa and ve'oichla and eat it. Chutz l'sukkah, he ate it outside the sukkah ve'enu varach acharav. Meaning because it's less than the beitza, So he ate outside the sukkah. Because it's less than a beitza, he didn't bench afterwards. And because it's less than a beitza, he was noitle b'mapa v'oichloi, and he ate it, right? Less than a beitza, you don't need to tell yadayim. Says the Gemara, my lav, ha-kebeitza, but if he would have had kebeitza, b'ay netil yadayim. Means the reason why he didn't wash was only because it was less than a beitza. But if it was more than a beitza, then you would have had to do netil yadayim, even though he was holding it in a mappa. Right? So you see, even though someone's holding something in a mappa, still you need to do netil yadayim if it's more than a beitza. Says the Gemara, no. Maybe that's not a raya. Maybe even if it was more than a beitza, he would have still not have to do netil yadayim because he was holding it in a mappa. But hakebeitza, the diak would be is hakebeitza by sukkah by bracha. Meaning the only thing that would change if you have a beitza is not a gabi netil yadayim. It's the gabi sukkah. You have to make a bracha on the sukkah. You have to eat it in the sukkah, right? You have to eat it in the sukkah, and you need a bracha birkas hamazon. Okay. Tashima. The Shmuel Ashkechet the Rav the Gachim Mappa. Shmuel found the Rav that was eating in a Mappa. Amalei Avdin Kedain. Do we do like this? Yeah, we do like this. We eat in a Mappa without washing until Sidayim. Amalei Daiti Ktsara Alei. He says, no, you don't understand. I did until Sidayim, and I'm still eating with the Mappa because I didn't want my hands to get dirty. I didn't want to eat with my fingers. Okay. Kisolik Rav Zera Ashkechinu Rav Ami Rav Asi Dikaachli Bivloi Chamosos. Zera found Rav Ami Rav Asi eating with these skins, the skins that he took an old liquid skin sack that they used to put liquid in, right? And they used to, whatever it was worn out. They used to take it, so they were eating with that. It wasn't a mappa; it was bivloi chamases. Whatever. Either way, they were eating. They weren't touching it with their hands. Omar trei gavi raver Shmuel. Two big people like you're going to make a mistake with something that both Rav and Shmuel held that you shouldn't do it. Rav never said it's fine. He said that I did do the Yadayim, and the only reason why I didn't want to hold it with my hands is because I'm an istanis, daiti ktsara. I didn't want to get dirty. Right? So either way, both Rav and Shmuel hold that you're not allowed to use the mappa. So ishtamite. So the Gemara is saying that Reb Zera forgot had the Omer of Tachlifa Barvima Mashmuel that he tiru mappa la'ichlei truma la'itiru mappa la'ichlei tairais. Reb Zera, who critiqued Rabbi Ami Rav Asi for eating with a mappa, right? He didn't remember that Tachlifa actually said that someone who eats truma, kain who's makbid on truma, right? So he is allowed to eat with a mappa because kohanim are zrizim, so they're allowed to eat with the mappa without doing tilas yadayim. But it's only other people who are not zaris, right? People who aren't kohanim, then they weren't matter you to eat with a mappa. The Eichlei Tyrus means someone who's not a kohen, but he's just makbid to eat his kachim as if they're Tyrus. To eat his chulin as if, right, a chulin al Tyrus HaKodesh. Someone who's makbid to eat chulin as if it's Kodesh, they had the prushim that were makbid on this, right? So they're the ones who were makbid and we say you can't use a mappa. But a kohen who actually eats truma, he's considered zariz, and him he's allowed to use a mappa without doing tilas yadayim. Okay, so there's a rama from Tachlifa, so they had a raya. For Rabbi Ravasi kohanim havu, they were kohanim, and so they were oichlei truma, and therefore they were matter to them to eat with a mappa. Okay. Let's say I'm not eating on my own, I'm not touching the food at all, you're feeding me. You're feeding me straight into my mouth, right? So now, do I need a tilas yadayim or not? Because I'm not touching the food actually. Rav Huna bar Schoira was standing in front of Rav Huna, and Balam le umtza ve'achel. He was putting food into his mouth. He was like stuffing food into his umtza is meat, right? But he was stuffing meat and bread, right? He was eating bread, a sandwich, into his mouth ve'achel, and he was eating. Omar lei, and he tells him, "Ilav de Rav Hamnuna. If not for the fact that you're Rav Hamnuna, lo yisafina lach. I would not feed you like this." Right? So the question is why not? What did he mean? Only because you're Rav Hamnuna, that's why I'm feeding like this. My time, lav mishum desar v'lo naga, because Rav Hamnuna would be able to be careful and not touch, which means that essentially it's mutter to eat without tilas yadayim, right? As long as you're not touching, as long as if someone's feeding you, then it's fine. he wouldn't have done it for someone else because the other person maybe would have touched it, but Rav Hamnuna would have known not to touch it. Says the Gemara, Loy, the Zar is kadum Hashem yadei meikara. No, the reason why he says no, Adrab. He says the reason why I'm feeding you, Rav Hamnuna, because you're makbid to do Netilas Yadayim, even though I'm feeding you. But other people who don't do Netilas Yadayim, I wouldn't feed them. So that means it's punkt vaker. But you would see from here that you have to do Netilas Yadayim, even though someone else is feeding you. Okay. Tashima, Dom Rab Zeiram of Rav, Lo Yitin Adam Prusa L'Tzarech Piv Shel Shamash. You should not put a piece of bread into the mouth of the shamash, unless you actually know that he washed his hands. So you see beferish over here that you have to, even though someone else is putting it in your mouth, he doesn't feel it. Another halacha is that the shamash, the one who's serving, he has to make a bracha on every single kais of wine, because he doesn't know if they're gonna give him more or not. He's not invited into the suda. He can't take on his own. It's only whatever the Baal Bayis decides to give him, that's what he gets, and therefore he doesn't know even if he's getting another cup, and therefore he's really Mesiach Das. After every cup, he has to make a new bracha. Prusa. Also, he doesn't make a bracha, but he doesn't make a bracha on every single prusa. Why? Because he's sure the Baal Bayis would give him bread. He knew the Baal Bayis would give him bread. Just wine, wine he's not sure, and therefore wine you have to make a new bracha, but bread you know you're going to get. For Rabbi Eliyahu says no, even on every single piece of bread you have to make a bracha. Rav Papa, and Rav Papa explained, Bishlam de Rav Rabbi Yochanan leikasha. It's not a machlokes between Rav and Rabbi Yochanan hadika adam chashuv hadika adam chashuv. If there's an adam chashuv there, so the adam chashuv would take care of the shamash. The shamash knows, don't worry, I'm going to get more bread. I don't have to make a bracha every single time. There's no adam chashuv there, so they're not going to take care of the shamash. And therefore he's going to have to make a bracha every time. He doesn't know if he's going to give him more food. Okay, says the Gemara, Mikol Makom Haka Omar Elam Ken Yudesh Not Al Yodov. Still, right? In the ratio of the brayso we said that unless you know that the shamash was not Yodov, you can't put it in his mouth. You see, you have to be not Yodov, even though you're being fed. So the Gemara, Shani Shamash to Torah. No, maybe that's not a raya. Only a shamash who's torrid, he might actually touch the bread, right? And therefore he has to wash his hands. But regular people, maybe you could feed them even though they didn't do it. Okay, no raya. Tanu Rabbana. Lo yitin adam prusa l'shamas bein shakois biyada bein shakois biyada shabal bayis. You shouldn't give a piece of bread to the shamas. Let's say you're a guest, right? You shouldn't give, and you want to give a piece of bread. You want to be nice. You want to give a piece of bread to the waiter. Do not give it. And bein shakois biyada shabal bayis. Whether the waiter is holding a cup of wine or the balabais is holding a cup of wine. Why shema yera davar kalkol v'suda? Because maybe there's going to be a kilkul. Something might go wrong. What might go wrong? The balabais might be afraid that there's not enough bread. There's not enough bread for the guests, and you're giving to the waiter, right? So he might get nervous, and he'll get angry, or he'll choke on the kais, right? And also, you shouldn't give to the shamash itself. Rashi explains because he might spill. If you give him bread, he might spill the kais that he's holding, and that's going to be embarrassing for him. So therefore, you shouldn't give him anything in the middle of the suda, okay, or while he's holding the kais. The hashamish shaloi notal yodov also litin prusa l'soich piv. Okay, what's that? That's another quote. Right, it sounds like we just said. Oh, it's a continuation of the brayso. And the brayso continues and says the same thing, that if it wasn't notal yodov, so then you're not allowed to give a prusa. So now, until now we talked about the person who's eating, who's being fed. What about the person who's feeding? Right? Do you have to? He's the one touching it. So you have to wash your hands, or was the takana? No, the takana was only the one who eats it. Okay, so this is on Yom Kippur, a woman who doesn't eating, but she has to feed her kids, so she washes one of her hands in water. Then and she gives bread to her little kid. Shammai Azaken didn't want to even feed it with one hand. He didn't give food to his kids, and that was a problem. His kids were very hungry, so God's rule of they were guys no, you have to feed with two hands. And he didn't want to wash his hands. You're not allowed to wash your hands on Yom Kippur, so you want to be makbid, right? So Rabbi, no, that's not a raya. It's not a raya that you have to wash your hands when you're feeding, because Hassan is mishum shiv. So over there's a certain shade, there's a certain ruach ra that's shayra when you feed bread, or from the morning it was around, right? And therefore that he wanted to wash his hands. So, but not for any tosut. So we were saying that does the machil need? Does the one who's feeding, does he need to wash his hands also because he's actually touching the food or not? So we wanted to bring a raya from the fact that when you feed your kid on Yom Kippur, it sounds like you have to wash your hands. The more it says, Rabbi Eliyahu Mishum Shivsa. What's Shivsa? So Rashi says Shivsa is the Ruach Ra, the name of the shade that creates the Ruach Ra that's on your hands when you don't wash your hands Shachris. And since Yom Kippur you didn't wash your hands Shachris, so you have to wash your hands to make sure that you're not feeding the kid ruach ra, but not that there's a chiv al santilas yadayim because you're not the one eating it, right? So that's where the more pushes off the proof. Taisus says, what do you mean you're allowed to wash your hands in the morning to get off the ruach ra, to get off the dirt? So why would that ruach ra still be there? So Taisus says that's not the ruach ra that is from not washing until it's down in the morning. It's a new ruach ra that comes specifically when you give bread to kids. That's when this shade comes and gives ruach ra, and therefore you have to wash your hands even on Yom Kippur. Taisus says this shade is not mostly b'neinu. This ruach ra is not, so we're not makbid. Just like we're not makbid on gilui, we're not makbid on all these things. Taisus says it's not mostly b'neinu. Okay, that's the Taisus right here. The Gemara brings another ayah. Tashma davud Shmuel ashkechel Shmuel. Shmuel's father found Shmuel when he was a kid. The kabachi was crying. Amalei, my kabach is why you crying? He said, "The machyun ravoy, my Rebbe hit me." And then he patched me, right? Amai. So he said, why did he hit you? So the Omar Li, because he told me, Kasofis levoiv lemashes yadei. I guess Shmuel was feeding the Malamed kid, right? And Shmuel fed him bread without washing his own hands. So the Malamed hit him. He's like, what? You gave my kid food without washing your hands? So you see the Malamed held that you have to wash your hands even though you're just a Meichel, right? So asks Avud Shmuel, V'amayloi Moshe, so why Taka did you not wash your hands? Amar Lei, Hu Ochel Van Mashino, so Shmuel says what he eats I have to wash, right? So Shmuel obviously held you don't have to. Amar Lei, so he told him, Let me stayed like not only does this Malamed not know how to learn, Mimchanami Mochi, he also hits, right? He doesn't know how to learn, and he's hitting you for something that he's an amoritz about. Okay. The Hilchas says, if you're the one eating, even though you're not touching the food, if someone's feeding you, but Meichel, if you're the one who's feeding, and it's the takana is only on the person who's eating. Okay. Masisin says the Mishnah, you're allowed to tie cheese and meat in one handkerchief together, as long as they don't touch. As long as they're not touching, this has to be something being mafsik. If you have two guests at a hotel, they can eat on one table. Even though we said in the previous Mishnah that you're not allowed to be malak gvina and basar on the same table, that's only if you're eating from both. I mean, it's your table. Not that you're eating from both, but the case would be if it's not shnei achsanoim. If let's say it's your house, right? Let's say it's your house. I guess that's the pashas. We'll see in the Gemara when it's aser. Both belongs to you. Now some of your kids want to eat basar, some of yours it's aser because you might come to mix. Okay, that's the pasha case that's aser. Over here we're saying that since it's shnei achsanoim, so it's two people, everyone's eating their own thing. I don't know you. You happen to come to the hotel, but I don't really know you. So therefore, I'm not going to grab from your plate, right? I'm not going to take from your plate. I don't know you, so therefore it's fine. Okay, the Gemara is going to discuss. Says the Gemara we said that you're allowed to tie basar and gevina together in the same mitpachas as long as they don't touch. Says the Gemara, who cares if they touch? Havitzainin and betzainin, they're both cold, right? You're schlepping it around. It's cold, so then there's no permeation back and forth, right? There's no transfer of basar to the chol, gvina to the basar. So why do I care if it's touching? Amar Abaye, you're right. Need the klipa loy. You're right that since it's cold, you do not need klipa. You wouldn't even need to peel off anything, right? But still, Hadocha miloi bay, do you not need to wash it off because they actually touch together, especially if you're traveling and you don't get smashed together, so you would have to wash it off. And since you would have to wash it off, therefore the chatchila, you're not allowed to put it together while it's touching. Okay. The only case where it's mutter if the taka don't know each other, they're not friends. Aval makirin zeh also because they might actually eat from each other. If you have two guests that are being hosted in one motel, one's coming from the north, one's from the south. One's coming with his piece of meat, and this one's coming with his piece of cheese. You don't have to be chayshish. They only answered b'tfisa achas if they're both holding it together, meaning if they're both mamish eating from the same thing. Says the Gemara, tfisa achas al kadaitach. What really? They're really the only time you answer is if they're eating actually from the same plate. The Gemara says no, ela ke'ein tfisa achas. They only answered as if it's from the same plate, as if they're both holding onto the food. What's that situation? Is when they know each other, they actually might eat from each other. But if they don't know each other, that's fine. Okay, Taisa says, you see from here, this is where we learn from that if you have a mappa in between, right, if you have a hecker or everyone has their own placemat, so from here you learn that as long as it's not ketfisa achas, as you make some type of separation, so then it's fine, you can eat on the same table. Okay, Amar Lav Yemer bar Shlamya, La Abaye. Rabbi Yemar says to Abaye, Shnei achim makpidim zal zeh. Let's say you have two brothers, but they're fighting with each other, right? So what would the halacha be? Two brothers, you would assume, they would share, right? So the halacha would be that you're not allowed to eat basar and gvin on the same table. You might eat from each other, but these ones are makpidim zal zeh. They had a fight for years already over the Yerusha, right? So maybe are you allowed or you're not allowed? Ma'o amar lei. Yemru kol asrikin asur v'asrikin baitus mutarim. This is it's an expression that comes from Asligim Psachim, which is talking about how you're not allowed to make designs on matzah. Because if you make designs on matzah, so then what happened would take time, and so the balabasta would make fancy designs on the matzah. It should be carried away. She would wait. The sheer chimutz would come. Would become chametz. Right. So therefore, they said no designs on matzah. Right. So the Gemara had a question. What about Srike Baitus? Because Baitus was a baker who had molds. All he did was throw the dough into the mold and then bake it. Means he didn't take time at all, right? He didn't sit there with a knife making designs; he just threw it in. So maybe the Gemara says maybe that should be mutter because it's not taking any time. So the Gemara says no, you can't. Yeah, you can't make exceptions because Yomru people would say kol asrikin asun asrikin baitus mutarim. You can't make exceptions. Everyone's going to say right. Right. People would look at it as weird, and people would use that as that it's mutter. Right. People would say kol asrikin asun only asrikin baitus mutarim. Right. So too over here. We can't make exceptions for achim that are makbid.
People don't know that.
People don't know that they're makbid. People would see them and learn from that, right? So we have to make a blanket rule. It says according to you, if someone doesn't have only has one chaluk, one cloak, one clothing, one piece of clothing. So usually you're not allowed to keep it on cholamayid, but if you only have one piece of clothing, you're allowed to do it on cholamayid. So, fact, Gemara, why is it mutter? Right? Over here, you see you make an exception for somebody who only has one chaluk. People don't know he only has one chaluk, right? So how could you allow it? Says Gemara again, Yom Kol Asrikin Asurin, Asrikin Baitus Mutarim, right? People are going to say what? Everything is mutter, everything's also except for this one. No, people would assume everything is mutter. So how are you allowed? Says Gemara, Hasam Ha'omar Marbaravashi Izuru Mechiachalav. The reason why over there it's mutter, it's different over there. Why? Because usually when someone washes his clothing, if he has other clothing, so he wouldn't wash his belt, right? Because you would take the belt, you put it on the other clothing right away, and you just wash the actual garment. This guy, because he doesn't have a change of clothing, so he's washing the belt also, right? And from the fact that he's washing the belt, everyone knows, oh, this guy doesn't have another pair of clothing, and that's why he's allowed to do the kippah. So the fact that the fact that he's washing the belt is mechiach alav. That proves that he's different, and therefore it's mutter for him.